what would you consider your biggest failure, and what did that teach you?
Yeah, I'm learning now that there were things people had told me early on, like, hey, the discipline part, hey, just trust the process, come in, do your follow-ups, just don't worry about the yeses, the nos, the ups and downs of your own motivation. Just do it.
Main Street businesses are struggling as they face challenges nothing like we've seen before. You're listening to the Behind Main Street podcast. Let's learn from real-world Main Street entrepreneurs, pick their brains, and learn their secrets to navigate, persevere, and overcome all the modern obstacles they face every day. Get ready to peek behind the stories, the struggles, and strategies of today's Main Street entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Behind Main Street podcast. Here's your host, Chris J. Cardona.
Great day, everyone. Welcome to the show. Whether it's your first time listening or an avid follower, thank you so much for joining us. Show notes can be found at www.behindmainstreet.com. But before we get started, I would like to thank the sponsor for this episode.
Today's episode is brought to you by Thinkin' Local, a fundraising and giving-based marketing platform whose mission is to connect local Main Street businesses who care about making an impact in the local community with schools and nonprofits who believe in supporting their local businesses. Find out more by visiting local.com.
So for today's episode, I'm so very excited to interview Travis, founder of the Travis Lafond Agency, who originally hailed from San Jose, California, and now lives in Chino, California, with the love of his life and 2 kids, and has been in the field of protecting people without even realizing it. From his days in football to his career as a safety officer and now as an insurance entrepreneur, I'm very eager to learn from his journey. Travis, are you ready to take us behind the scenes and curtains and dig into your story?
Absolutely, Chris. Thanks for having me.
So perfect. Well, I've given our listeners a sneak peek, a little bit of who you are. Why don't you tell them a little bit more about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm originally from the Bay Area, San Jose, moved down here to play football, and just through different series of events, started my agency a couple years ago now. And, insurance is just, like you said, all about protecting people, protecting their families and their businesses. So that's what we do, offer insurance products that protect every aspect of your life.
Wonderful. Well, tell me something interesting that your wife, your family, or friends would say about you.
I think, something after I got these questions from you, I had to pull a couple of them, and the different keywords that came up were determined, loyal, very faith-driven. Like everything that I do and believe is founded in my faith in God, and so those are the big keywords that kept coming up.
So, how would you describe your life mission if you had one?
My life mission would be to sum it up, to leave people better because they've known me. So I want to be a light in your life, whether it be a 5-minute conversation or a lifelong friendship. I want to make sure that I've been someone and done something for you that leaves you better off.
Gotcha. Well, what would you say people misunderstand about you the most?
When it comes to the business, I think that salespeople have kind of a bad rap, but out of all the insurance professionals I've met, most of us do this because we care. We care for the people that we're taking care of, and that's one of the things as an entrepreneur, an agent, people tend to think that we're just trying to sell a policy, but the heart behind it is I care like I said, most of the insurance professionals I've met, we care. That's why we got into this, is because we care about taking care of people, protecting them.
Well, you said the word care a lot. If there was one thing that you valued the most in life, what would you feel that would be?
One thing I value the most in life would probably be my family. Just taking care of them, making sure that I have time with them, making sure that they're protected, just like I'm trying to protect other people. Make sure that they have everything they need, and that, again, like every parent I've talked to, our goal is to leave them better off, our kids better off than we were. So my mission that we talked about kind of extends, to every single person in my life, and mainly my kids, my family.
Have you ever thought about the impact that you'll have in 5 years or so?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially as entrepreneurs, we have to be thinking, what's the end goal? What does this look like? And especially like in 2022, I've done a lot of meeting with people with goal setting and, vision casting, things like that. And it's super important to cast that vision, that dream of what you want. And so for me, is that impact. I hope that the people that choose to do business with me and allow me to protect their homes, their businesses, their families, I hope that they're better off because of a relationship with me. Not just, okay, they have an insurance product that's going to protect them, but they have an insurance agent that gets to know them and their needs and is someone they can, rely on. As we're both really big on connecting. So, I hope that people call me like, hey, Travis, who can I go to for plumbing or for my car or for anything? I want to be that guy that, hey, you can trust me and the people that I hang out with, the people that I know. And so, for the customers, and then for my family, the impact, I just, like I said, I want to set up a life for them, that sets them up for success, be better off than I was.
So let's say you won $100 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Just in case, any of my pastors at church are listening. No, I'm just kidding. But I would tithe. I would tithe and then invest in the business, definitely, because I believe that, you said 100 million. 100 million is cool today, but if you invest it back into your business, it could be $1 billion, it could
Absolutely.
be, and then with that amount, you can do even more. So yeah, invest some of it into the business, pay off some things, pay off the house, pay off houses for my family, extended family. And then, especially with my partnership with Thinking Local, find different organizations that I believe in and that I stand behind and donate to people who need it. People who are less, that have less than some of us in society,
Absolutely. Well, you talk about your family, your kids a lot, caring a lot. Family is very, very important to you, very, very obviously. What was your childhood like when you were growing up?
It wasn't easy. We didn't have a lot. I wouldn't say, looking back, when I was a kid, I wouldn't have said we were poor, but now, like, I don't know. I don't really know, like middle class, but definitely paycheck to paycheck. And I remember times, my dad's working 3 jobs, my mom's working a couple jobs. I worked in high school to help support my family. So, I mean, it was a struggle. It was tough at times, but, joyful. I have 5 younger siblings and, got along most days, love each other. And, just like I said, grew up in the faith. And, so that was really important to us, got us through a lot. And so, yeah, it was difficult at times, but never a dull moment. It was an adventure.
Well, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about your your life in the past, and I know that your dad has been a big influence, and you have a great relationship. Personally, I envy the relationship that you have with your family and with your dad. Talk a little bit about him.
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad, um, just really like one of the biggest influences in my life. Strong Christian, and really like try to instill Christian values in me and work ethic. Like I said, there were times when he was working a couple jobs to help us, get along. And the one thing that I know we've talked about before is, despite all of our struggles and things, he would always remind me and my siblings to be generous. Something that just still sticks with me to this day, and almost everything I do is like, we don't have much, but what we do have, we're going to share. And so I just remember vividly on several occasions, I'd be going out with friends, go see a movie or something back before they were like $20 a ticket. And he would give me a $20 bill and say like, hey, don't come back with any change. Not meaning like go spend it on yourself, but like find someone in the group that doesn't have, something. Find someone in the group that wants candy or popcorn or something, and, share. And so and that was the practice. That was anytime I went out, it was just a reminder, like, be generous with the friends that you're hanging out with.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a good message for other listeners to have, because I know that a lot of listeners don't always have the best relationships with their parents. And so being able to hear that, and I know that like even my kids, right? My oldest one, sometimes I'm sure when I tell him stuff is like, like he gets annoyed by it. It's like, but I'm just telling you to be able to help you, because someone in the past, my grandpa, my dad, my parents helped me out. So I'm just trying to extend that same advice to you, so you can kind of not tell you what to do or walk the path for you, but at least lay the groundwork so that it can be a little bit easier for you to be able to walk the path that you want to be able to follow and lead in life. We've talked about this in
Absolutely.
the past. Did you like school?
Oh yeah. I liked school. I was always a good student. And so I think, like we've talked about, is when you're a good student, it's easy to like it. But, I, you know, I really liked school. I was a good student, up until probably like my senior year of high school. I started slacking off. Once I knew I was going to college, I kind of took it easy. But I was really involved. Also, I was in band and in football, and you know, the Christian club on my campus, and so yeah, really involved in student things that were going on.
You talk about football. What position did you play?
Yeah, I was on the offensive line. So in high school, I played center and tackle, and then in college, I played guard.
Wow. So literally protecting your teammates.
Yep, yep.
Well, was there something in your childhood that when you kind of look back on, felt you would feel that it led you to where you are today or now?
Yeah, I definitely think there's like been this theme that we've touched on already of protecting others. Like I said, I have 5 younger siblings, and so I've always just felt protective. And just to like paint that picture, my next sibling is 6 years younger than me.
Wow.
So, and then after that is everybody's quite a bit younger than me. So I was bigger, older, been through things before they got to experience it. So, protecting them physically and trying to, like you said, hey, here's some lessons I learned the hard way. So let me pass this along so that you don't have to make those same mistakes. And then like you touched on at the beginning, I came to school, played football, protecting people, protecting my quarterback, my running backs. And then went into the security field. I was a security officer at a university for 12 years. And so, putting myself in dangerous situations so that the students of the campus were safe and the faculty and the staff were safe. And so then we get into this industry, and that's really what sold me on it is I don't have to be anybody different. This is nothing different than what I've been doing my whole life. It's just protecting you financially and protecting you from some major incidents in life that can happen to people. So yeah, just definitely that theme of protecting others has been the theme all along, and I didn't even know it until we, just getting to talk with people who ask questions like you do.
That's great. What would you say, from your childhood, you practically playing football, and then, being a security officer, protecting people and all that. What was a turning point in your life?
To join insurance?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was tough, security at a university is 24/7. And so the turning point was really, I believe it was my son's first 2 Christmases because I was working. There was family events, my son's a baby, and then a 1-year-old, and I had to be at work. And so my wife and I just sat down like, this is not sustainable. We can't keep doing this. I don't like it. I want to be a dad, before everything else. That's the priority. And so that was really what started my journey to looking at other options. And I started out looking for a job, looking for a normal 9-to-5 because that's more comfortable, and actually I didn't even think about entrepreneurship. I was just like, man, I got to find something else. And just the people that God has put in my life, it really opened up the doors to this industry. And so entrepreneurship became a reality, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, now that we've gotten to know a little bit more about your story, are you ready to go deeper?
Absolutely.
Let's take this conversation behind the alleys and go deeper.
So, what does being a local Main Street entrepreneur now mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, being a local Main Street entrepreneur is about being a productive member of society, and of the community. So not just, productive in that I'm building my business, but I'm building other businesses. I'm encouraging young people to think, like I just told you, I didn't even think entrepreneurship was I didn't think that way. So reaching out to young kids who don't think that way and telling them, hey, here's this option where you can be an entrepreneur, and definitely the young kids, do it while you're young, and you can take risks, and I know we'll dig into that a little bit, but I think it's just about being that guy that people want to go to, because you take care of other people in the community who need the help. And it goes beyond insurance for me. I want to help other businesses succeed, and especially with our partnership with Thinking Local is the bigger picture stuff. There's people who have needs that don't have a way to meet them. And so let's all rally together behind these organizations, behind these groups, behind these individuals, and help them out. Why not? Let's bless others with the blessings we've been given.
Absolutely. Was there, when you were a child, was entrepreneurship on your radar at all?
Actually, for a little while there, every school has their kids, sell chocolates, or I can't, go door to door and stuff. And then I was thinking about this the other day. I had forgotten about it, but there was an actual business. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a catalog, and it was geared towards children going door to door and selling things out of this catalog. And I did that for a little while in elementary school to try to make money for myself. I sold rocks in our front yard.
Rocks?
Yeah, we had this, rocks in front of our house, and I just I'd try to sell them to neighbors.
Did
Your
anybody
typical
buy?
lemonade stands. Oh yeah, I mean, my next door neighbor, he's like, when I was in elementary school, he's probably in his 20s, and
Okay.
he came over and bought a few just to support me. And looking back, that's kind of that support that like young kids need. Those little tokens of encouragement and like, yeah, like you do it. You be an entrepreneur. um, and so it's funny, like when we've been talking, I thought about that the other day, and yeah, so I've done a little bit of entrepreneurship early on, and then kind of drifted into the 9 to 5, time clock world, and then got back into entrepreneurship. But yeah, so that was my childhood entrepreneur, adventures.
Which was very, very interesting. I think all of us we probably don't realize that a lot of us, even people that work a 9 to 5 job, at one point in their life, they were entrepreneurs, right? I mean, when you were first deciding on what job you wanna do, or what career you want to take, or what college major you want to do, you typically put yourself in the shoes of an entrepreneur, right? Like you think about like, okay, whatever it is that your goal is in life, like you want to make money, you want to make a difference, whatever it is, you put yourself in an entrepreneur's shoes because you're trying to predict what road you're going to take to be able to get to where you actually want to go. So I think a lot of us just forget that at one point we do consider ourselves as entrepreneur. We just kind of get sidetracked a little bit. And then eventually as we get older, we figure out, oh, let me do a side business here and there and everything. So I think entrepreneurship is just like ingrained in us, but I think society just kind of, I wouldn't say pushes it down, but kind of tells us that, hey, getting a safe, secure job is a little bit better, even though, as we know right now in the space that we live in, it's no longer the case.
Yeah.
So, you talk about like your neighbor or your 20-year-old neighbor that supported you. Was there, other than that, a more deeper, specific entrepreneur influence that you had in your life?
I mean, definitely in this era, this journey, this part of my journey, I would say the biggest voice that advocated for my entrepreneurship, first of all, would be my wife, and just really pushing me and believing in me. But then, secondly, my district manager within Farmers, Tim Rowe. Shout out to Tim Rowe. But he's just also been really supportive and just constant. He essentially helps agents set up their agencies and run their agencies successfully, and so he's a big advocate and encourager in the entrepreneur, realm, in this time in my life, trying to really support me and make sure that I'm successful.
So when did you actually decide, like you were doing your 9 to 5, you're a security officer for 12 years, which is, quite a while. When was it
Yeah.
that you decided that, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
It's really hard to like quantify the exact moment. So it was 2019 when I had been looking for jobs and nothing really worked out that I liked. And I took our insurance agent out to lunch, and I said, John, he was a good family friend of ours as well. I said, John, look, I get your Christmas cards. I see you're always with your daughters. You're always at all their school events, whether it be, athletics or different, things, mostly athletics. And you also live comfortably. So like, how are you there for your daughters and making enough money? And he's like, well, insurance, and he really told me and about the industry. If you take care of people, you will be taken care of, financially. So you just do the right thing for your customers, and you'll be able to live a comfortable life, but also live a life where you're present with your family. And so I was like, man, I'm all about it. And he wasn't in a place where he could hire me and train me and stuff. So I ended up finding Tim Rowe on LinkedIn. I actually coached his son in football years prior, and we had connected. And then I saw him post something online. Do you want to control your schedule? Do you want to control your income? Well, yeah, doesn't everybody, like, so I hit him up and I said, tell me about it. And, he told me about Farmers, and Farmers is the best in the industry as far as training and onboarding. And so it was, November of 2019 is when I started my pre-licensing education and got all those, check marks, boxes checked. And in February of 2020, I got my second license, which allowed me to be an agent with Farmers. And in June of 2020, I sold my first policy. And then in March of 2021, just through some support of family and friends, I was able to quit my job at the university and go full-time into this world. And so long answer to your short question, but it was a process to become an entrepreneur. And March of 2020 or 2021, excuse me, was probably that's when I cut ties with the 9-to-5. Well, that was a 24/7 department, but the W-2 job. And I was able to just go full steam ahead into owning my agency.
Wow, that's a fascinating story. I think a lot of times what we don't realize in life is like what is that they say? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Right? When you were seeking, probably your Tim Bro, your old your current district manager now has probably been posting the same exact message over a period of time, right? But the student wasn't ready to see it, so the teacher didn't appear. So I think that's sometimes in life when we're looking at opportunities, we fail to realize that the opportunity is like punching us in the face, but we're not turning, like we're just not looking at it. And I think that's a good lesson from what you just said, is sometimes opportunities are out there. And we shouldn't never stop looking at opportunities, because we never know that opportunity that will set us in the path that will kind of lead to the future that we actually were dreaming about, right? So, talking about that, March of 2021, this is sort of a little bit after that you joined the chamber, and that's sort of when we kind of got to know each other and talked a little bit more and kind of, built a relationship from that. But since you've actually opened your doors, right? Like you're taking customers now, how has that journey been like? Because it's different when you're talking about it, when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, but it's different when you're actually walking the talk, right? So how has that journey been like for you?
It's tough. Like you had mentioned a couple minutes ago, society kind of entices us into that stability of the W-2 job, right? Well, with a sales job, with a 1099 job, it's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. And it's hard. It's a grind. It's very challenging at times. It's very rewarding at times, and I would say to anybody thinking about it, it's the rewards far outweigh the challenges. And the biggest thing, like I said, with this change for me, I didn't have to change, the protecting others part, but also the people part. I like talking with you. I like talking with people. And so it's perfect. As an entrepreneur, you got to be out talking to people. And so, it's been very, very rewarding. But it has its challenges, as because it's not what we're used to. It's not that stable W-2 job where you punch a clock and you get paid no matter, how much effort you put in. And at least in my job, there were days when, I wasn't feeling it, and that was fine. I was still going to get paid. But now I feel like it or not, I got to make money. So, I got to go out and talk to people. And, just saying that reminded me of something, that's hit me recently is, the motivation ebbs and flows. Some days all of us feel like it. Oh, we're going to go out and get it. But it's we can't ride those waves of motivation. We got to be disciplined. It's the discipline, the activity, setting activity goals and just doing them whether we feel like it or not. That's gonna get the job done. And it's hard because when you're in a W-2, you can ride those waves of motivation. So it's challenging, but the outcomes, the feeling of success and helping people is so much greater when you've had to do it yourself,
Absolutely. Well, you touched on challenges there. What have been some of the challenges that you faced, being a new entrepreneur, especially in the completely new industry, right?
Yeah. Some challenges. Number one is getting in front of more people, getting in front of the most people with the right message at the right time, and that's where that discipline comes in. As those of us in sales know, it's about follow-up. And so it's really difficult at the beginning, especially when you're still trying to train your mind to act on discipline instead of on motivation. And it's those early days, things don't close the first time you talk to somebody. And it's like, man, this doesn't work. Why did I do this? But when you get months and years into it, and you're now following up with someone from 8 months ago, from a year ago, from a year and a half ago, and now they're like, man, why do you keep calling me? Well, because I care about you. I want you to be well protected. And, if anything, I've met 100 more people this month. So do you need anybody? Do you need anything? I could introduce you to some of my cool friends. At the end of the day, it's about helping people. And then that's where now I've talked with this person a dozen times, over the course of a year, and now they're buying. And so, but it's the biggest challenges are those first couple months where, you ride those waves of motivation and you get out there and talk to people and they're not ready to buy. And so you get discouraged, and then you got to get yourself motivated again, and then you get discouraged, and then, and just really sticking it out to believe in the system.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of great points there. I mean, discipline is definitely something that, I can definitely relate to. I remember growing up, my grandfather would always instill discipline because, my parents were separated and I grew up with my grandparents. My grandpa was a really, really big influence in my life, and he was a university president. So he ran our household like he would run the school. Everything is accounted for. There's a system in place. I know I was talking to Joe Alanya. One of the book recommendations that he had was E-Myth, right, by Michael Gerber. And one of the things that these systems allow us to do is be disciplined in kind of doing the same thing, regardless of the results that we're getting. I think for me, I'm a huge Kobe fan. I'm going to put that out there. I'm a Laker fan, but I'm a big Kobe fan, right? And one of the things people like bagged on me a lot, right? A lot of people when rest in peace, Kobe, when he was alive, a lot of people bagged on me because they said that, oh, Kobe was an a-hole, Kobe was this, Kobe was arrogant and stuff like this. But that arrogance, that a-holeness comes from discipline, because he knew that every day, 3:00 for the 20-year career that he had, he was waking up 3:00 every single day to train, to practice. So anybody that's trying to get to his level, when they found out what he was trying to do, they will always play catch up for their entire career because he was always one step ahead of them. And I think what you're saying about discipline is really what gets us through the lack of motivation time, especially as entrepreneurs. We always get to that phase, right? That's like, should I still be doing this? Can I continue? All that stuff. So I think, what you brought up there is really, really a huge gold nugget that I surely hope that our listeners really gravitate to and hold on to and really learn from. So going back to the questions, in business and in life, you are a very faith-driven man, right? You're a family-driven man. I've met a lot of entrepreneurs who are in the younger generation, right? No family, still trying to figure things out, but they're gung ho about being successful. For you, who has been seasoned, who's worked the 9 to 5 job, who's lived a life, has a lot of experience, right? And a family man with 2 kids. What would you say in business and life would you consider non-negotiable for the way you live your life?
Well, I'm never going to compromise on my faith. So, if there's any situation that I feel compromises my faith or my story, or my, as we say in Christianese, or my witness, like if there's anything that's gonna make people question my character, my integrity, that's off the table. And then something especially with owning your own business, and we talked about like setting your own schedule, and you think like, oh, awesome. Well, it's not as easy, because setting your own schedule looks like working from early morning to when the kids wake up, and then getting a little break, and then going to work all day, and then getting a break for family time, and then working after they're in bed. But that's the thing, non-negotiable. And I am not perfect at this, and so I have to say this for when my wife listens, is I try to, during family time, ignore my phone or put it somewhere else, so that it's family time. And so that's one of the things, non-negotiables is my faith comes first, and my family after that, before everything else, before customers, before the business. And yeah, so those are the non-negotiables, Chris.
Awesome. Well, I mean, you talk about the family, you talk about the faith. I think that's what I love about you the most, is being able to know where you stand, right? You know the compass that you live by. And I think in today's society, a lot of us sometimes are trying to hide what's really inside our hearts, right? But what I am impressed about you on a day-to-day basis is that you just live life, and you conduct your business in such a way that you truly live what you say you live, right? Your life of faith, your life of family, and things of that nature. With that knowledge, what did you wish that you knew, like, trying to balance your life and faith and stuff like that? What did you wish you knew prior to becoming an entrepreneur?
I don't know if this is exactly the answer to this question fits, but I wish I would have known or believed that entrepreneurship was an option earlier, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I think going through these struggles as a teenager or as a single person would be a lot easier, and I know from watching younger professionals do it, not to discount what they're doing, but you have a little bit less to risk, as far as I started, I'm in my 30s. And so I have a home, I have a family, and I got to make sure it works. Like, it's got to work. But if I did this when I was single, it's like, shoot, if this doesn't work, I'll just go to living in my car and drive an Uber and figure something out,
Absolutely.
So I wish, and for the younger listeners, just go do it. Go do it. Go try stuff, because you have a lot less to risk right now than you try to do it after you've already established something.
Yeah, that's a great answer, actually. That's exactly the answer that I was, not looking for, because that's what I'm doing the interview, right? I never know what I'm going to get, but that's exactly, I think, the value that our listeners will be able to get is, knowing at a early young age. If we knew what we knew now, we would get into business a lot earlier. And I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially, on the older scale of things. They say that, right? I would have started my business a lot sooner. It's like, oh, I would have invested
Yep.
got a life insurance from Travis Lafond Agency sooner when I was younger, because
Right.
I can become uninsurable eventually, which is a whole different topic, all of its own, which they should reach out to you more of so that they can kind of learn more about that, which you've schooled me on. What would you say has been the most important part of your entrepreneurial journey so far?
The most important part is probably that determination, dedication. There's a book out right now. It's kind of popular called Grit. So just that grit. I'm gonna make sure this works. So balancing that too. What we just said. Go out and try things, and if it doesn't work, you don't have a lot to risk. But also stick it out. Like we ride, be disciplined and dedicated instead of riding the waves of motivation, and so just determined and the grit, that's super important in entrepreneurship.
So if you could have one superpower, what would it be? But before you answer that, let's take a quick break.
Today's episode is brought to you by Thinkin' Local, a fundraising and giving-based marketing platform whose mission is to connect local Main Street businesses who care about making an impact in the local community with schools and nonprofits who believe in supporting their local businesses. Find out more by visiting local.com. And we're back, digging for gold on the Behind Main Street podcast.
So Travis, if you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Yeah. So, because we've talked about superheroes and comics since I love comic books. I love superheroes. So when you typically hear this question, you think like, oh, flight, super strength, super speed, see through walls, things like that. But honestly, putting it in the perspective of entrepreneurship, I think the greatest superpower would be to see myself first and foremost the way that God sees me and that others see me. Because I definitely think, I know for a matter of fact that my wife just believes and has the most confidence in me out of everybody in my life. And so if I could see myself through her eyes, I'd be unstoppable. There's nothing that would be able to hold me back. So I think that would be the greatest superpower that would, set my business up for success, set my family up for success. I'd be out there changing the world, and so I think that it's very unconventional, but I think that would be the greatest superpower ever.
That was gold.
Absolutely. If my wife, if I could have, you're right, if I could have the superpower of knowing what my wife was thinking, not just what she looks, what I look to her or what I sound to her like, but also kind of predicting what she's thinking would absolutely be a wonderful superpower.
Absolutely.
What would you consider, now let's take it, let's go a different route. What would you consider your biggest failure, and what did that teach you?
Yeah, I'm learning now that there were things people had told me early on, like, hey, the discipline part, hey, just trust the process, come in, do your follow-ups, just don't worry about the yeses, the nos, the ups and downs of your own motivation. Just do it. And early on, like I said, it was easy to get down in those moments where I called 100 people today and nobody talked to me, or I got more, forget you, hang up, than I got, oh, thanks for calling, and so you're like, your ego, your motivation takes a hit. And so I let that wave of motivation kind of control me a little bit too much. So I would say that has been in business the biggest failure. But at the same time, I don't even like using that word. I guess we could use the word, but Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad says, you win, and you learn. He doesn't say you win and you lose. You win and you learn. And so for me, just, it's taken until recently to really like lean into that. Like, okay, trust the process, do it daily, be consistent. And it's been great, and so I think I've learned from that mistake or failure, if you will. But yeah, learn from other people's mistakes and failures.
Yeah, I think that's
if you can.
If we could, like, that's why I think reading a lot of stories of different people, kind of biographical and things of that nature, kind of helps us get perspective on journeys that other people are taking, that sometimes we can learn from and not have to make the same mistakes over and over. But I think we've talked about it in the past. I think one thing that's very, very important is if you knew that you would win or you would succeed at the 100th try, you would do it as fast as you can the 99 times before that, right? I think that's one of the things that I think I mentioned to you. I tell my son, my 14-year-old son, over and over, it's like, don't be afraid to fail. When you're young, this is the opportunity. This is your God-given opportunity to fail, because when you get older, you have a smaller window of opportunity or failure, and that would not set you back as much, right? When you're young, you fail, you get back up, and life goes on. So if there was one mistake that you could make over again, how would you do things differently, and what mistake would that be?
I think, like I just said, like just trusting the process and trusting some people early on that had really good input versus listening to some other voices in my life. So yeah, trusting in the process, the dedication to just do and be disciplined. And a big thing is to go out with how can I help kind of attitude, and instead of, hey, I need to meet these goals. The goals are there, and it would be nice. We all have goals, but the path to those goals is by going out with a who can I help and how can I help attitude. So I think, to kind of rephrase your question and be more positive,
Absolutely.
those are the things I would do differently earlier.
Gotcha. Is there something or someone that you often turn to when you feel stuck?
Yeah, I mean, like we touched on and maybe focused on early, I pray a lot. When I don't know what to do or how to do something, or when I'm stuck in those pits of that low tide in motivation, I just start with prayer, and then my wife is a go-to. Always, like I said, she believes in me more than anybody else, so that'll get you picked up. And then there's other agents, my district manager, like I said, Tim, but yeah, there's a bunch of support in my personal life, and also from other farmers agents that keep me going sometimes, a lot of the time.
Absolutely. Well, what would you say drives you to keep going when the going gets really tough?
Two things, like I got to refocus and remind myself that I got into this to help people. And so if I give up, I really believe in my service first and foremost, that I can come out and serve people. And then secondly, just what farmers offers. I believe that it's what people need. And then secondly, as a family man, if I don't go out there and do well, then my family doesn't do well. And so those are the two main things I got to keep revisiting when the going gets tough.
Yeah, you bring up a great point there. The pressure that we have as entrepreneurs, especially when we have a family that depend on us, or other people, not necessarily even if you're single, right? You always have people that are depending on you. whether it be your client depending on you, whether it be your family depending on you. I think using that as a big driver to being able to achieve and make ourselves better is very, very important for us to consider and kind of take to heart. Because a lot of times, what I've seen is some people that go through life and have a little bit of a struggle. They sort of have the like, oh well mentality, like, oh well, like people will understand. But you don't realize what the dependency of other people to you, what if you are not able to deliver, how that would affect them. So I think keeping that at the back of our mind, that people are depending on us, not just financially, but the output of our work is also as important
Absolutely.
to that. So I think that's something that we have to be cognizant about. What are,
And you
go ahead.
and you said something important there too, like especially for people that are single and may not feel like anybody's depending on them. If you're in a sales job and you don't believe in what you're selling, go find something you believe in, because that'll keep you motivated. My customers, my clients, what you touched on it, and that's super important to hone in on, is my customers, people out there don't have what I'm selling, and they may need it. I talk to people all the day, all the day, every day, that have a policy that somebody put together for them, didn't really explain to them, and there's things in there that are missing. There's coverages that are missing because they're a little bit more, and it's like, okay, so you're going to spend a little bit less, but what's at risk is, up to $1 million, if not more. Does that really make sense? And it's like, oh no, I wish so-and-so had explained that to me. If you go out as, like I've talked about, I think a couple times now, with that I want to help people mentality, and you believe in what you're doing, you believe in what you're selling, whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur, that should be motivation in and of itself. When you got nothing, if you have nothing else, if you really have nothing else, that's what should drive you.
Definitely. I think belief is also a big part of that, right? When we believe in what we're doing, it gives us the confidence to keep doing it and do it better, because because we have that belief. So I think that's also an important takeaway from what you just said. Are there, when sometimes we do turn to, there's times that our belief, not just our faith, but our belief in ourselves kind of take a turn, right? Are there any resources that has helped you get through these tough times and struggles?
Yeah, I think when I'm down like that, two things, like I've said, go to my wife, because she'll make me feel good about what I'm doing. But also too, sometimes it's good to get up from the desk. For me, get up from the desk and go take a walk. Clear my head, kind of reevaluate, like, hey, remind myself again, like, this is why you're doing this, but I think two things: the physical, just, walking, exercising, biking, working out in the gym is good for all of us. Far and above just the physical. I think it has immense mental and emotional, value. And so that helps. And then, also while I'm doing that, just reminding myself, why I'm doing this. I just recently have gotten into like doing affirmations. And so, walking and just thinking to myself, like, I'm good at this. I am, people need what I have, and I care about people. So why not me? I'm things like that. I don't want to input affirmations for other people. I think they need to come from within, but just reminding myself while I also take care of my physical health.
Absolutely. What has been, would you say, your biggest aha moment?
Probably it was a while ago. Like I said, I hadn't really taken what some people had told me to heart. I hadn't put it into practice. And then actually getting involved in the Chino Valley Chamber and especially becoming an ambassador, going out to businesses and just starting the conversation with how can I help you has started a really good relationship now with the local business that we're still working on the insurance, but should be good for us monetarily as an agency, but will be even better for them as a business. And then as a long-term partner, it seems like it's going to be very valuable for both of us. And so it was like, that's when the light turned on that, oh, going out with that, how can I help you attitude, it works.
I think we talked about that in the past, right? Leading with value is the absolute easiest and best way to be able to start any conversation, especially in business. If I'm coming to you and saying like, "Hey, look at me, buy from me," it sets up a different conversation than as if like I come to you as like, "Hey, how can I help you? This is what I do. I just want to help you. No strings attached. I just want to do it." And I think that sets up, such a big, like reciprocity, right? It sets up something huge in the relationship. It sets the relationship off on the right foot, is what I was trying to think
That's
of.
right.
Think of.
That's right.
Instead of you coming in there, it's like, hey, like I'm just here to take your money, or like do business with
Right.
you, or get my boss to take your money if you're working for someone. I think it sets the wrong message, and I'm sure you've encountered people that come across that way and still do it, and I think it would have been easier for them, or it would be easier for them if they lead with value. If you
Right.
could if you could talk to your 18-year-old self today, what advice would you give him?
Go get your insurance license.
That's amazing. Absolutely.
Like we touched on it earlier, I just think if I could go back in time and tell my 18-year-old self, that jokingly, yeah, go get your insurance license. But seriously, grab life by the horns. Like, don't stop being afraid of failure. Stop living in the past and just go do it. Try things. Another person that I just absolutely have a lot of respect for is my younger brother. So we have two very different paths. I went to university. He went to one semester of community college and decided school's not for me. And he got into trade. He's now an industrial welder. But the way that he got there is he tried a whole bunch of different careers, different jobs, different things. He took risks. He went out and just did different things and met different people. And I just have the utmost respect for that. And I think if I can give any advice, since I can't go back in time and tell myself that, if I can give any advice to younger listeners, is again, I'm going to reiterate, go out there and try things. Don't be afraid of failure. You win and you learn, and go read entrepreneurs, learn about entrepreneurship. And they'll say the same things about failure and learning. And I just, biggest thing, go try things. Don't be afraid of failure.
Fantastic. Well, as an entrepreneur, what would you say is your favorite productivity hack, if there was one?
Time blocking is huge. Again, I'm not perfect at it. I don't do it every day. I don't do it most days, but the days that I do, I am a lot more productive. And especially if you do like your time blocking, like a lot of people do their meal prepping, do your time blocking on Sunday or Saturday and do it for the whole week. And just really stick to your time blocks and protect them. I think that those days and weeks that I've done it have been a lot more productive, a lot less stressful. So yeah, time blocking.
If you were granted 3 wishes, what would you wish for?
I think first and foremost would be, health and wellness for my family. Just make sure that everyone's healthy and taken care of. And, a successful, sustainable business. And I mean, I think I don't even know what to do with the third one, Chris.
Save it for a rainy day.
People, yeah, that's everything to me. Is just make sure that my family's taken care of, and then have a business that is able to help people. I mean, that's the dream for me.
That's fantastic. And that says a lot about you, man. That says a lot about you. Can you recommend 3 books that you feel our audience would benefit from that has helped you in life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a given, but the Bible, I mean, that's my daily. And after that, specifically with regard to entrepreneurship and insurance, The Power of Zero. I'm horrible at remembering authors. I think it's David McKnight.
Mm-hmm.
He has just incredible financial planning wisdom there. And then after that, probably Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I think just really he has a lot of gold nuggets in there with regard to mindset and determination and options. I really didn't understand real estate investing until I read that book, but his concepts go far beyond real estate investing. And I think anybody that's just looking for motivation and like, what else can I do besides collect a paycheck? Go read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Start there, but I don't think I don't think you should stop at 3. I think there's tons of books out there. There's tons of resources. And so I think, and that's what really sparked my love for reading like entrepreneurship books was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to plug, I had a podcast back in the day. It's called Booked Morning Podcast. You can still find it on SoundCloud. I think it's still listed on iTunes, but majority of the episode are on SoundCloud. I reviewed about 57 books that are live, actually 60 originally, but I deleted 3 of them because I felt they were redundant after listening to it. So I have 57 books that you can read. I reviewed them. They're about anywhere between 15 to 25 minutes each. Also, another plug is, I think I mentioned this to you. It's a service called Blinkist.com. It's Blinkist.com. And what they do is they actually summarize books, nonfiction books. So you can go ahead. There's no reason why you couldn't read 52 books or 365 books. If you spend time while you're driving, 15, 20 minutes, or doing your business in the morning, listen to 15 to 20 minutes of a book a day. That will get you so much farther in life. What are you most looking forward? Oh, absolutely. What are you most looking forward to your future in entrepreneurship?
There's so many things, Chris. I think some of the biggest things are obviously to just drive the point home again is helping more people. But also, it doesn't stop there. A lot of us have had bad experiences in the workplace. So another big goal of mine is to be a good leader that people love coming to work. They feel supported, they feel encouraged. And so that's a goal of mine. And I think that would be really cool to kind of change some 2-3 people's life trajectories, change something for their families, and then as we grow and as Thinking Local grows, just being able to give back more to our different communities, to my church, to the different outreach stuff that we do. One thing, like I mentioned it briefly, is I coached high school football for a little bit. And so I think it would be really cool to be able to grow my agency strong enough that I can get back into volunteering my time, and having an agency of staff that can run the business without me, so that I can be out coaching football or building homes or those types of things that I've done in the past that I loved and I would love to get back into doing.
That's great. Was there a question that you wish I had asked you?
Oh, maybe a question I wish you would have asked me would probably be which networking groups I'm in and where people can find my agency.
There you go. Where can listeners find more about your agency, and what networking groups do you affiliate with that you feel our audience would find the most value from?
Yeah, so I'll start with the groups that I'm in. So biggest, I think, support system that's really turned things around for me was the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I've gotten to network with a couple others. So it's not just, we have the best chamber, but there are good chambers in whatever city you're in. Go connect with business owners. Go get to know people. It's life-changing. Secondly is the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. You can check us out, IEREIC.org. And they've been awesome and just opening up my eyes to entrepreneurship as well in the real estate world. Team Referral Network is another good one. And Christian Business Partners are all the different networking groups I'm in. And your listeners, our listeners, all of our fans can find more about my agency by calling me, 909-323-0001, or at travislafond.com, or on social media platforms at Travis Lafond Insurance. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and then on LinkedIn, you can just look up Travis Lafond.
Awesome. And in closing, what is one piece of advice that you can share with our listeners in their entrepreneurial journey?
I don't know if I have to pay a royalty to Nike, but it would be just do it.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Travis, for your time today. I invite our listeners to please connect with Travis and myself. Also, please do share, subscribe, leave a rating review. I'd very much appreciate your honest feedback, which helps me continually provide impactful content that I hope you will find valuable. And always remember, every day that you face adversity, think of it as an opportunity to find the gold inside you. Until next time, have a success-filled day.
Thanks for listening to the Behind Main Street podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Remember to visit www.behindmainstreet.com.